I had known for years that silence in my family wasn't peace. It was exile wrapped in politeness. My name is Vera Stone. I'm 32, the youngest of three. My father, Robert, runs a logistics business that once seemed like the center of the universe. My mother, Elaine, treats every holiday like a magazine shoot. My sister, Marissa, the golden girl, orchestrates these gatherings flawlessly, leaving me with the tiniest chair in the farthest corner. My brother Noah is gentle, quiet, the sort who apologizes just for existing. Thanksgiving always carried the same unspoken rule. Kids' table, even when we were adults. Foldable chairs, flimsy paper plates, the wobbly leg no napkin trick could fix. Marissa's friends occupied the main dining area, while I inherited the stillness. When I earned a full scholarship to Stanford, my father said, "That's nice. Maybe stay nearby like Marissa." When my startup Northlink system sold for millions last year, his text read, "Proud of you, honey." No call. A quiet, distant pat, words that sounded supportive but cut sharp. I stared at that message on Thanksgiving, the table already full, and remembered all the maybe next years before it. Then my eyes landed on a stack of closing documents on my desk, White Valley Ranch, Montana. $5 million. My name printed on every page. They had no idea I had built something that was entirely mine. A place I couldn't be uninvited from. I sent my father a simple, "No worries," and let myself exhale. This year I would set my own table. I tried convincing myself that it didn't matter anymore, that I'd outgrown wanting a seat at their table, but the old ache lingered, heavy in my chest like frozen stone. Rain streaked down my Seattle window, reminding me of that foldable table in Portland, always rocking under my elbows, always labeled temporary, but never replaced. That night I scrolled through old photos. Marissa slicing the turkey, Mom smiling beside Dad raising his glass, and me on the periphery, tray in hand, always moving, never seated. Called Noah. He answered after a few rings, already anticipating the topic. "Hey," I said lightly. "Thanksgiving's full, right?" There was a pause long enough to feel deliberate. Then he exhaled. "Yeah. Dad said it'll be small this year. Just Marissa's family and a few friends. Keeping it simple." "Simple," I repeated, letting the word hang. "You know how they are," he murmured. "I know," I said, cutting him off gently. "No worries." After the call, my jaw clenched until it ached. Simple had always meant without me. I had spent years convincing myself distance was protection. I stayed busy, built a business from scratch, and turned every scar into a blueprint. But now the silence felt different. Not empty, inviting. If their table was full, I would create mine on my terms. I grabbed the ranch file from my desk. The pages smelled faintly of cedar. In my mind, the scene was already alive. A long wooden table under golden lights, snow falling softly outside, the aroma of turkey and rosemary filling the air. Not a family by blood, but one chosen. I drafted a message to my assistant. Call Sheriff Collins in White Valley, check local shelters for anyone who needed a meal, and order extra ovens overnight. Within minutes, confirmations arrived, volunteers, suppliers, drivers. The plan was in motion before hesitation could creep in. For the first time in years, I felt a heat that didn't burn. A sharp clarity replacing old pain. Thanksgiving wasn't about who invited me, it was about who I could feed. The next morning, fog wrapped the valley soft and thick. I rose before dawn, the air crisp and pine-scented. The silence didn't feel hollow, it was a canvas. I poured coffee into a chipped mug and sat at the long oak table in the kitchen, wide and polished, capable of holding everyone who had ever been left out. Messages buzzed on my phone. "Sheriff Collins. You're serious about this?" "Completely," I typed back. Then Pastor Grace Holloway called, her voice warm, astonished. "Vera, child, I've prayed for something like this for years. Spread the word." And so I did. People paused to unload sacks of potatoes and bundles of firewood from their trucks. Inside the house, sounds overlapped, pots clattering, laughter ricocheting off cedar walls, knives scraping on boards in steady rhythm. For years, my family's Thanksgivings had been all about appearances. Flawless china, polite chatter, shallow gratitude. This one felt entirely different. The air smelled of butter and cinnamon, of effort and warmth. I lingered in the doorway, watching everyone move with purpose, sleeves rolled, cheeks flushed. It hit me then. This was the first time I'd been surrounded by noise that didn't sting. At some point, Marco and Jin, my old co-founders, arrived with crates full of ingredients. Starting another startup? Marco teased. I smiled. Maybe one fueled by kindness instead of code, I replied. As daylight faded, the kitchen radiated gold from the ovens. Steam fogged the windows, and outside, the valley vanished under a blanket of white. I moved through the house, lighting candles, adjusting chairs, making sure every table was ready. Near the fireplace, I set aside a carved chair for the one who felt invisible. Not just decoration, it was a statement. Standing there, I understood something profound. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. While my family toasted in Portland, I was preparing a meal for 200 strangers. They had claimed the table was full. They were right. Just not theirs anymore. By the time dawn broke on Thanksgiving, White Valley looked like a painting. Snow-dusted fences, smoke curled from chimneys, and the ranch pulsed with life. Inside, the kitchen beat like a heart. Margaret rolled dough with precise focus. Elena stirred gravy in a copper pot twice her size. Marco and Jin had transformed the barn into a luminous dining hall, stringing lights across the beams until it gleamed like a galaxy. When I entered, everyone was in sync, calling out ingredients, laughing over burnt rolls, sharing stories. I felt my younger self watching from the corner, the girl who once scrubbed silverware while the real family toasted. This time I wasn't invisible. I was anchored. By noon the valley stirred. Cars crunched through snow, farmers, truckers, single parents, veterans, nurses, all newcomers who'd heard about the meal from the radio or Pastor Grace, arrived hesitantly, stamping snow from boots, unsure if they belonged. I greeted each by name as they wrote it on a tag. "Welcome home," I said. Some smiled, some teared up. Inside, long oak tables stretched endlessly. Flickering candles surrounded bowls of mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and fresh bread. The air smelled of sage, butter, and cedar. Music played softly, a fiddle, a guitar, a quiet humming voice carrying hope. Just as the last dishes were set, Walt Briggs entered. Tall, with a graying beard and hands trembling from the cold. "Am I in the right place?" he asked. "You are," I said, pulling out a chair. He settled in slowly, eyes scanning the hall. "It's been 10 years since I've had Thanksgiving with anyone," he whispered. As the meal began, voices swelled, soft at first, then warm and loud. Plates clattered, glasses chimed, laughter rolled through the barn. Strangers leaned into one another's stories. Pastor Grace stood, raising her glass. "To a table that never runs out of space," she said. "And to the woman who built it." I shook my head, smiling. "No," I said. "To everyone who showed up." Then Walt rose, chair scraping the floor. Silence fell. He lifted his glass, voice trembling but steady. "I lost my wife in 2013. Since then, every Thanksgiving has been alone, usually with a frozen meal and the TV, but tonight," he paused, voice breaking, "tonight feels like she came back to visit." The room stayed still. One by one, applause began, slow, heartfelt, rolling through the rafters. Walt smiled, tears in his eyes, sitting back as laughter followed. That was the moment I realized. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I hadn't recreated a better version of their table. I had built something entirely new. Later, someone captured a photo of me standing at the head of the long table. Candles glowing, faces turned toward each other in laughter, and I felt, finally, at home. That morning, a message from my father appeared on my phone. 5 simple words. "Thanksgiving is already full. Perhaps another year." No explanation, no warmth. Just a brisk denial glowing on the screen. I paused, then replied quietly, "I suppose that's what people say when they've stopped feeling anything." I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I moved to the window of my small Seattle apartment and watched raindrops slide down the glass. They had no clue what I was about to do. 7 days later, while their home overflowed with chatter and wine, mine hummed with light and music, hundreds of strangers sharing a meal at a ranch they had never known existed. When the photographs appeared online, the silence that had settled over my family finally cracked. Before I share all the details, tell me, have you ever felt excluded by the people you call family? The rain tapping endlessly against the window that morning sounded like static in my thoughts. By midday, volunteers began arriving. Margaret, retired but still skillful in the kitchen, carried trays of pies. Elena, a nursing student who had just finished a night shift, brought stacks of canned goods. Even a few truckers drawn by word of mouth rolled in. The photos were posted with a simple message. If your home can't fit everyone, Montana can. Overnight it spread. Local news covered it. Social media dubbed it the Open Table Thanksgiving. Pictures showed Walt smiling, seated beside the carved chair near the fireplace, beneath a banner that read, "Every seat belongs to someone." Then my phone began buzzing. Initially I ignored it. But when I saw the names, Dad, Mom, Marissa, my heart tightened. Messages flooded in. Dad, what did you do? Vera, everyone is talking. Mom, people think we were excluded. Marissa, wow. Couldn't let me have a single moment without turning it back on you, huh? The same glow that had carried their rejection now carried their indignation. Finally, I answered the call. Dad's voice rushed through. Vera, you made us look heartless. I sipped my coffee, glancing at the empty plates around me. Did I? Mom's voice joined, soft but trembling. We just wanted a small Thanksgiving, honey. Small, I echoed. You mean selective? That's not fair, Dad said sharply. We thought you were busy anyway. I nodded. I was. Feeding 200 people you couldn't fit in your house. Silence. Long and brittle. Then Aunt May's voice cut through, calm but unwavering. I've heard enough. You've been treating family like a decoration for too long. Vera showed the world what it actually looks like. Even Marissa caught her breath. Don't blame her for building something real, May continued. No one can take that from her. I didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. The truth was already present in the quiet. You told me Thanksgiving was full, I said softly. And you were right. It was full. Just with the right people. Dad exhaled. You made us look bad. I smiled faintly. No, Dad. That part was all you. The call ended. Outside, snow drifted silently. Inside, the fire dwindled as the last volunteers tidied up, laughing quietly among crumbs. I had spent years trying to earn a place at their table, only to realize I had outgrown it. Later, by the carved chair near the fireplace, I whispered, for anyone who has ever felt invisible. For the first time, I didn't need permission to belong. I was already home. The following morning, the ranch smelled like the echoes of joy, with smoke, butter, and candle wax mingling in the air. The table was littered with crumbs and melted wax, a testament to gratitude. I scrolled through the photos online. Veterans, nurses, families, all smiling beneath the banner. Every seat belongs to someone. Comments read, faith in humanity restored. I wish I could have been there. And her parents must be proud. I didn't reply. Some truths require no explanation. A week later, I sent a short note to my parents. Just us. Sunday. They arrived, unaccompanied, without fuss or decoration, and we sat in the ranch kitchen. Words were scarce at first. Then I said what had to be said. You didn't lose me because I left. You lost me because I stopped asking to belong. Mom's eyes glistened. Dad's hands gripped his mug tightly. For once, they listened without defending. As they left, Mom lingered, looking at the snow. You made something good, she murmured. After the headlights disappeared, I lingered in the stillness. It didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. Weeks later, a new banner hung over the barn. An open invitation, every Thanksgiving. It wasn't about proving anything anymore. It was about keeping the doors open for those who had ever been turned away. Each year when snow falls, the ranch fills with life again. Lanterns glow. Tables stretch. Strangers arrive as if they've always belonged. Veterans, nurses, truckers, neighbors, no one asks who you are, only if you're hungry. I still carve the same chair by the fire, marked for anyone who felt invisible. Sometimes I sit there. Most times someone else does. Every glance around that room, every laugh, every smile, reminds me of the message that began it all. Thanksgiving is full. Maybe next year. But next year is now.